Okay, so thank you everyone for joining. The purpose of on our agenda tonight for the Charter Review Committee meeting is the review of what we have redlined thus far in the charter so that we can just make everyone aware of what's happening, discuss the proposed changes, and then make our plan for reviewing the rest of the charter. Okay. So we'll just start here at the very start of the document. We haven't made any changes to the title or anything. We'll obviously update the date once that information, and if any of this information needs to be updated, we will do that.
Councilwoman Fareed.
Yes.
Yes, I thought the purpose was to have the council review this and give some input on the changes that we looked at. And I guess my thing is, again, and I put it in my email, is that there's 13 pages of changes that we made, almost 13 pages of changes that we made over a 6-month period. And council has not seen this, has not reviewed it or anything. We already know the changes that we made, but I just think that this meeting really needs to involve the full council, at least a majority. We don't even have a majority of the council on here tonight. I guess I'm understanding, because I'm familiar with the changes that were made, but you got other people who never even seen changes before. So for us to just talk about them again, we won't give them a clear understanding, and we'll still have to have another meeting with the council once they've reviewed this to give their feelings on this. Because again, we've gone so far and we still haven't gotten a good idea where we want to go with the form of government, but we got kind of an idea, but we want to get their buy-in on it also. So that's why I was saying I didn't understand the purpose of this meeting when there's so many. Go ahead.
The purpose of this meeting is to review everything that we've done. If any council member cannot attend, they can always review this recording. I didn't want to give this to the council just and have them review this out of context of the conversation. The point of going through this tonight is to talk about every single change and why it's been being proposed. The council.
Well, who? I guess my thing is, who are we doing it for? Because I already know what the changes are, and I know why we discussed them and why they're going to be proposed. And I've seen 1, 2, 3 people on here tonight, and they still, even if you tell them, they probably still don't get a good understanding on what we're doing, unless they be able to read through it and see where we actually changing, the changes that we made, what we struck out.
Well, why don't we do this, Councilman Herring? Why don't we just go through and review any questions that anybody has? They can ask tonight. If they have questions at another time, they can ask them at another time. We're not taking any action. The point is to discuss what we have done thus far, and then allow us to move forward. We're not doing anything, as we discussed. We're not putting forth any resolutions or any changes until the end. So anything that we discuss from now until the point where we put forward an actual charter resolution is only discussion. So let's just go through this so that we can utilize our time effectively. And again, if any council member could not attend tonight, that is totally fine. This is a Charter Review Committee meeting. We ask for the other council members to be able to attend so they can have an understanding of what's going on. But this meeting, along with every other Charter Review Committee meeting, has been recorded. If anybody wants to know and understand what we're doing and what we're discussing, they can do that. I see Mayor Cross, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, thank you, Councilwoman Fareed. I'm concerned about the number of council members that is on this call. You have 4 council members. That's a quorum. This should be a public hearing, a public meeting. This should not be held in any other fashion other than before the people. I think that violates the Open Meetings Act. I know it does. In fact, you have a quorum. Thank you.
Yes. So Mayor Cross, this Charter Review Committee meeting, along with every other Charter Review Committee meeting, is open to the public. So whether we have a quorum or not, we have always made this meeting available and open to the public and advertised to the public. Okay, so going through the first change is in the article, the general corporate powers. The inhabitants of the city of Glenarden within the corporate limits legally established from time to time are hereby constituted and continued. A body corporate by the name of the city of Glenarden. We just removed the piece where it says the corporate name of which is the city of Glen Arden, so that it's not redundant. The next change is in section B. The courses and distances showing the exact corporate limits of the city shall be filed at all times with the clerk of the city court, circuit court for Prince George's County, and the director of Department of Legislative Services. That was updated to correct it. It wasn't legislative reference. In addition, a copy of the courses and distances describing the corporate boundary shall be on file in the city's municipal center with the council clerk. Previously, it said in the city hall, and this is just making it specific of who it's going to be with if people want to know who they should obtain it from. In a suitable book or place, properly indexed and reasonably available for public inspection during normal business hours. Mayor Kress, I'm not sure what you mean by the meeting should be held with the public. This is a public meeting. Citizens are allowed to attend. Citizens are allowed to attend every Charter Review Committee meeting. This is similar. It's similar to a work session. So it's virtual, and the public can attend. But I just really would like to get through this. I think we're being very disruptive to the order of this meeting, and we just need to go through this. Okay, Article 3, Organization of the Council. The number, selection, length of term. All legislative powers of the city shall be vested in a council consisting of a mayor as described in Article 4, and 6 council members who shall be elected as hereinafter provided and who shall hold office for a term of 4 years or until their successors take office, except the beginning with the election in May 2013. The term of office for all council members shall be 4 years until their successors take office. So we cleaned this up around the term because it did not need to say a 2-year term and then stating that in 2013 the term was going to change, because we're far beyond 2013. It's 4 years. So we just cleaned that up to make it say 4 years. And here, in terms of the organization, as discussed before with the council, this will be consisting of a mayor and 6 council members, for a total of 7. Beginning and end of term. The regular term of council members shall begin 1 hour after the start of the regular council meeting. And we took this out on the second Monday because it's already known when the regular council meeting is going to be, when it's held in June. So we just took out on the second Monday to reduce the redundancy. In June following their election, and shall expire upon the seating of their successors. Council members holding office at the time this charter becomes effective shall continue to hold office for the term for which they were elected or until their successors take office under the provisions of this charter. What we have here, sorry.
I'm sorry. May I interrupt for just 1 second?
Yes.
I apologize for this, but since the mayor raised the question, I did a little bit of looking on the open meetings. Now, I know this meeting was advertised as a public meeting. The Zoom portion was advertised so anybody could attend, but how was it advertised? Was it advertised as a meeting of the council or a meeting of the commission or the committee?
A meeting of the committee, the Charter Review Committee.
Okay, so this could be a problem now that you have a quorum. The Open Meetings Compliance Board has held in the past that when you have a quorum of the council, that it really ought to be advertised as a meeting of the council.
So what are you suggesting we do now?
Well, either we could do a couple of things. One is, if certain members were to drop off the meeting so that we do not have a quorum any longer, perhaps maybe the two that have been on the committee because they're familiar with that, would that still leave you with a quorum? You would have 1, 2, I don't know who the number is on the bottom, so.
I only see 3 council members on here.
One just dropped off.
Councilwoman Fareed.
Councilman Harrison dropped
I'm
off.
sorry. Councilwoman Fareed, this is Councilwoman Jones. I'll drop off.
So you do not have a quorum at this time?
Councilwoman Ferguson?
Yes, just for clarity, we've had, our meetings, have been advertised in the same manner the whole time. And we have had 4 people on there before.
Yes.
And it was advertised as a public meeting days in advance, but we were never, so you're saying, Attorney Ruff, that it should actually say a council meeting versus, when we advertise our other meetings, we either say a work session, public hearing, or regular session. And, but you're
Okay.
saying we need to have the word council in it?
Well, so what the Open Meeting Compliance Board has said, and it came up in a context where there were actually council members that attended a planning commission meeting, and there was a quorum there. And they actually said that they should have advertised it as a joint meeting of the council and the planning commission meeting. And that was it's a relatively recent holding as well, so.
I'm just going because it is under the council meeting. It is listed as a meeting under the council meeting, the Charter Review Committee meeting.
Can I say, I thought the original intent was actually to have the full council here so that we could discuss it as almost in a work session format, because they have not been privy to any of this information. That's what I thought the original intent of this meeting was for, so that they can at least be abreast of what's going on.
And if it was
exactly that.
advertised as such, so that people knew that the council was going to be involved, like a quorum of the council could be present, then that's fine.
Again, what I'm saying is that every meeting that we had has been advertised in the same way. Whereas we've had 3 who was on the committee, and we had additional, whether it was the president or another one, and this has never been brought up. So you're saying that for the duration of the time we've been meeting, we have been, even though we advertise it in enough time and it's made public to knowledge, and anyone can get on here from the public, they're just not here. But my whole concern right now is we have not, as far as the advertising concerned, we have not changed the way we have done it since we first been meeting with you. So are you saying that we have been advertising it wrong? We should have put the word council in it as well?
No, the meetings that I've been attending, I don't think there were more than the 3 of you there. We had one public person attend at one time. I haven't been attending all of them. There were 2 or 3 that I did not attend.
Now, we've had the council president, he would attend. I think Ms. Jones had attended before. We've had council members attending because it's open to the public, and originally we said if any council member wanted to attend, they could. But like this particular meeting, like Councilman Herring was saying, was strictly for the council to see, and in public as well, and the mayor and whoever else, where we were, but for council. So, I mean, whether we, in this meeting or not, I just want to get an understanding moving forward, because if that's the case, we what you're saying, we had to do. That's not what we was doing.
Okay, so my understanding is it has always been advertised as the committee meeting. It's always been open to the public. There has never been any engagement necessarily from anybody other than the 3 committee members. So there's not been a discussion amongst the council members per se. So I think you've met all the criteria for the Open Meetings Act, except for whether it was advertised as the meeting with the council as opposed to a meeting of the committee. And if it was advertised as the meeting of the council, I think you're perfectly fine.
And the other thing that Mr. Councilman Herring or whoever can correct me if I'm wrong, I was under the impression that whenever we had a meeting that consisted of a quorum, then the meeting had to be made public. That is the whole reason why I make it public, not necessarily because it's council, whatever. Like for instance, the 3 of us meeting, we did not have to make it public, but we made
Right.
it public so that we wouldn't have any flack or anything. We could have met, just the 3 of us here and you, but we have always
Exactly.
made it public. My understanding is when we have 4 or more, then it
Mhm.
has to be made public. And every meeting we've had been made public. So I don't know.
And that's exactly why we did it, to
Right.
Councilwoman
So
Ferguson's point, because this is the only committee that the council has that meets like this. Any of the other committees, whether it like the Glen Arden Day Committee or the Christmas Party Committee, whatever committees, they don't meet like this. They meet on their own terms. It's 3 council members, and it's not open to the public. There's no recordings of it. There's nothing open about those meetings. But this one was designed to be a public meeting.
Councilman Herring, outside of the reason why this particular meeting was established, I know, again, it was, so that the full council can see where we were, and then anyone else. Is what I stated correct, or is it not? That as long as when we have 4 more council members and we're meeting on anything, except for if it's a closed meeting, of course, advertised closed meeting, if it's advertised, then we are within our rights. I mean, we're not breaking the law.
If we advertise a public meeting and we have 4 more council members, we have to advertise it as an open meeting.
And it's been advertised. And so that's just the question, is if it was advertised as a committee meeting with the council to, open to the council to have this discussion, I think that you're fine. And I guess that's what I'm
that would
asking.
mean. What would you mean by that? And I'm sorry, I see in the chat too, the mayor said that it was advertised as a public hearing.
It was advertised as a public hearing?
I'm just trying to.
Now, forgive me if I may, Councilwoman Fareed.
Okay.
So it is advertised as a committee meeting, which means only the committee should be there. When you advertised October 2022 as a public hearing and you sent out the postcards to every citizen, that was the proper meeting where all of the council was there, and the citizens who are not computer savvy or computer attendees would rightfully have the ability to attend in public session. We do have citizens, Attorney Ruff, which is why I brought that up, who do not attend via Zoom. So you are excluding a large percentage, nearly 70% of the population's ability to attend these meetings. They're not on Zoom. Many of our seniors at 35% of the population do not attend on Zoom. They attend in person. So this should have been advertised, particularly if you're talking about rescinding our charter, which they need to be made aware of, because many of the citizens who would be on this call wrote that charter. So I just have a problem with how these meetings are being held, because I don't believe that they are full transparent for the people. The population of the city of Glen Arden deserves the right to know what's happening in their city, and not that this should be something that they are not involved in physically if they want to be present. And I understand you're sick, Madam Chair, but I believe that this is not in decency and in order. October 2022 was, you sent out a postcard, people that wanted to show up, showed up. We had nearly 60 plus people there.
I know, but Mayor Cross, you're confusing a public hearing with a public meeting. That meeting in October 22nd, in October 2022 was a public hearing with the intention of hearing from the public. This is a public meeting, just like our work sessions are. Our work sessions that we have every month are held virtually and on Zoom, and citizens cannot comment. They can attend, but they cannot comment. Even when those work sessions were held in person, they were held not in council chambers. They were held in the conference room, and citizens could go and sit in there. This is not any different than that.
So
This is
To the point that I
as a
made
committee.
around this committee meeting being public, it was intended to be public so that the public could be aware of what is going on. Every meeting that we have is recorded and posted on the city website so that anyone can inspect and understand and participate if they choose to in these meetings.
And so if I may, the whole purpose behind the Open Meetings Act is to ensure that you have given people the opportunity to know that the meeting is going to occur and of the time, date, location. And if you have done all of that and you have advertised it, and perhaps when I started down this road, I should have clarified and simply asked you, could you tell me how this meeting was advertised, right? And to make sure that it was in fact advertised. Because if you advertise the date, the time, the location, and then you've given proper notice.
But then that raises an issue though,
Sorry.
because we
just gonna say that
advertised it
this
as in
includes-
person
It was advertised as in person
and yes, and virtual.
and virtual. But
Yes.
now we're not in person. So how did we let people know that we were going to be strictly virtual?
on through the website. So it's the agenda it says virtual.
Okay.
Mm.
And was that to just today then, this afternoon?
Yeah, it would
Yeah.
have been today.
Okay. So
The only-
did you put a note on the door or anything at
No,
City Hall?
I don't know. I haven't been up there.
No, there's
But the
no-
council clerk
there's no-
did say that she needed to update that information. So I would assume that she did that.
Okay.
Yeah, and I guess my other issue is that we did talk to the council, when we talked to the council about this, we did tell them that we wanted to meet with them to get that, they were going to give them the red line, and then we're going to have their input on, what we've already done so far. And that's what I thought the purpose of this meeting was for. So it would have been technically a work session, if everybody had participated. So, yeah, I don't know.
So if it was advertised as with the meeting of the council, your council members, then the date, time, and place were given. The only question I would have is whether the people who may have shown up in person, do we know if anybody went to City Hall?
No.
Or
there's no
whether
one-
there was a notice there for them to join by Zoom? That would only be my only question. But other than that, I think that it was properly advertised. I'm trying to see
And what I was saying, Ms. Ruff, was that the agenda includes all the council members as the attendees.
yes. Master event. Somehow I have lost the I have lost the Zooms. There we go. There we go. In any event, as I was saying, perhaps I've confused the issue because I should have started with how was it advertised? Because it was advertised as an open meeting. It was advertised as in person and virtual. So I think that the only question in my mind is whether the fact that it's not in person creates a problem for those who would have attended in person.
I mean, I don't know, because I don't know that anyone would have attended in person. These meetings are generally virtual. So I don't know that anybody would have been expecting to come in person if they were, you know, but these meetings are also not well attended by anyone out. other
Right,
than
they
the
haven't
council
been.
members.
But does that take away the fact that it was advertised in person as an in-person meeting and virtual? That's the
Well,
thing. Because it was advertised as in-person and virtual, and it was changed to all virtual this afternoon.
right, so I think that the issue would be if anybody showed up to attend the meeting and the meeting was not going on, they weren't able to attend, and they did not know perhaps if there's nothing on City Hall that says they could attend virtually. So it's not really a matter of whether notice was given of the meeting, because you all clearly did that. The question is whether or not the last minute change, in my mind, it's the last minute change creates the problem.
Councilwoman Ferguson.
So my question is, up to one, you know, there is a concern as to whether somebody came. If there had been one person, whether it was one or two, if one person came out, that is a concern. But with that being on the table, what would be your counsel as to continue on with this meeting? And also, finally, in moving forward, would you suggest anything particular to be added to how this meeting is worded? Because like Councilwoman Fareed said, Mayor had made mention of the October meeting, but that was a hearing. It was a
Right.
hearing. There's a difference between a hearing and a meeting. Again, all of these are advertised publicly, so therefore the whole council can come if they want because it's public. Once it's 4 or more, then there is a quorum, and so that's why it's public. Now, if we was having this, meeting just, with the three of us, we wouldn't have to advertise it, but we advertise it anyway. So again,
Right.
just to recap, should we continue this meeting because of the last minute? I know that the Open Meeting Act also says to advertise as soon as possible. So that can be waited anything. And how, if any, would you recommend us to advertise this meeting in the future?
So I think, and I will pull up your advertisements. I don't think there's been a problem with how they've been advertised in the past, right? I think
No.
the monkey wrench in this little one or today's is the switch, in my view, from it being in person and virtual to only virtual. And if anybody had received that notice previously and attended and weren't able to attend, I mean, it's still a public meeting. It was still advertised. Public could still come. But the question is whether or not somebody may not have been able to attend because we switched to an entirely virtual meeting.
And is that something that we need to deal with right now? Like, do we need to cancel this meeting in order to address the fact that someone may have come in person? Or can we continue, because it was supposed to be hybrid, so it was supposed to be virtual?
Well, again, I think if there was notice on the door that gave people notice that there was a last minute change in circumstances due to people's unavailability in person, I think that would
I'll
play
call-
a factor in this,
I'll
right?
call the council clerk now. Let me find out.
I don't think there was a notice on the door. Well, I'm almost sure there was no notice on the door.
Well, and the other issue is many places do virtual meetings now. And as long as they're advertised as virtual meetings, that's been upheld as being okay. So you're kind of in this betwixt and between, in that it was advertised both ways and we changed it in the afternoon, and whether or not there was notice on the door, or somebody would have a way of knowing how they could attend if they wanted to attend.
I don't know. Normally they advertise on the website and on the marquee and the cable. So I don't know. I could be wrong, but I wouldn't think that they put anything on the door.
She confirmed
did either.
She did not put anything on the door. She only updated it on the website where the meeting is normally advertised.
Well, but that's notice as well.
Did it?
Okay, so that's notice. All right, so then we can
If
move
they
on,
updated the website, yes.
which they
It's
did.
just that would, again, did somebody look for a last minute change, right?
Okay, but you're saying that's sufficient notice, updating the website.
Well, at least it's some notice is what I'm saying. It's some notice that it went from a in-person and virtual to just a virtual meeting.
But how was that fair to those who don't have a computer, who would not know to go online and see that it was updated? There should be a note on the door letting people know if a senior come up there to see to view the meeting. They won't know it's online. They won't know it's the in-person was canceled. So how is that fair to them if they don't have? You're assuming that everybody has internet access, or everybody has access to the website, or know how to even get to our website. So I'm just saying, is that actually fair to say it's adequate notice when there's people who do not have access to the internet and there was nothing put on the door? I know I used to put notes on the door all the time when we would make a change, but it's just so people can know, because people do come up there. I know one gentleman who probably come up there, or one person that may come up there who don't know how to get on that internet. They may want to attend. I don't know, but that's the chance that that's out there. So I can't see how that being advertised online is fair. Now, you had said if they updated the marquee, that's something different, because that's open to everybody riding by and walking by. But this is online.
I don't even know how it's advertised on the marquee. I don't know. Oh, she did. She just texted me. The marquee was also advertised as a virtual meeting, so we're fine. Okay. Am I still recording? All right, so we resolved all those issues. This is a public meeting. It was advertised with the indication that there would be all council members, so we can probably call them back and let them come back to the meeting. And it was advertised on the marquee and on the website. So does everyone feel satisfied that we've done what we needed to do? And we can proceed? Yes, Mayor Cross.
Just for the record, Councilwoman Fareed, I know you're just trying to press hard, but I am not satisfied. A change last minute is not being a good steward of our people. We know very well that there are seniors who still rely on literature being printed for them, and they do come and pick it up. If you do it in a work session on that first Monday, then you equally have to provide them that next week in a public meeting for them to ask questions. We are talking about the citizens' government. We are not an isolated entity in it. We are working for them. And leaving them out, I think is a bad trait that you're creating. But thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Yes, and I'm sorry you feel that way. We have tried to make this meeting as open as possible for that purpose. This is not required at all. The only thing that is required is that we do a charter resolution and that we have a public hearing for people to discuss. So I think the fact that we have been having these meetings recorded and open so that people can participate and listen in whatever capacity is available to them, then we're making this information available. Again, none of what we're discussing here is concrete in the sense that nothing that we discuss here is enacted. We still have to go through the correct process of writing a charter resolution, having a public hearing, allowing the period for comment, and even allowing a period after, assuming it passes, allowing a period for what's the word I'm looking for people to I don't know, Ms. Ruff, what is that term called after it's passed? There's, I think, a 45-day period for them to basically contest whatever we pass.
The referendum period.
Referendum, yes. So the process for charter review, a charter resolution is, we haven't even gotten to that process yet. We haven't even gotten to having a charter resolution for the public to respond to. I'm sorry, Ms. Ruff, go ahead.
And again, if I confused the issues with you, my apologies. I just wanted to make sure that it was properly advertised. And it sounds as though it was.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so we'll go back. I was finishing up here and I was just noting that the blue highlights mean that at some point we're going to have to go back and update these references to make sure that they're correct and updated. Okay, so qualifications of council members. Council members shall be at least 21 years of age as of the date of their filing for candidacy. So that's just giving specific clarity around when they need to be 21, because it was a little bit ambiguous as to whether or not it was a little ambiguous as to whether or not it was 21 when they took office or 21 when they filed for candidacy. So we made that more clear. Shall have resided in the city for at least 1 year immediately preceding the date of their election and shall be qualified voters of the city pursuant to section 702 of this charter. Each council member running to represent a ward shall be a resident of the ward the council member seeks to represent at the time of filing for candidacy. A council member shall retain throughout his term of office all the qualifications necessary for his election, and failure to retain all such qualifications shall cause a forfeiture of his office. This basically means that if a council member was elected for Ward 3, they have to live in Ward 3 for the duration of their term or forfeit their office. Okay. Any person who has claimed a principal residence outside of the corporate limits of the city of Glenarden and filings with the state of Maryland, including as part of an application for the homestead tax credit, is not a resident for purposes of this section for the time period claimed. Here. Okay. And we just wanted to know if there were other verification methods other than the homestead tax credit. Each council member shall receive an annual salary, which shall be equal for all council members. None of this has changed. This is just a note for us to understand other municipality salary structure, but there's no change here in the charter related to that. The newly elected council shall meet, and again, we took out on the second Monday in June because we're saying when the actual meeting has to happen. Shall meet in June in each election year for the purpose of organization, after which the council shall meet regularly at such times as may be prescribed by its rules. but not less frequently than once each month, except, however, that during the months of July, August, and December, the regularly scheduled meetings may be canceled by a majority of the members of the council. So this is indicating the months in which we typically take recess: July, August, and December. Special meetings shall be called by the clerk to the council upon the request of the mayor, president of the council, or a majority of the members of the council. The reason why president of the council is stricken is because the mayor will serve as in that role as the president of the council. Closed sessions, we took this out, but I actually don't remember why we struck that part. Ms. Ruff, do you remember why we struck this part around the closed sessions? Ms. Ruff, are you still there?
Yes, I'm still here. I'm sorry.
I was asking if you remembered why we struck out this part around
For
the closed session.
the closed session, because it is stated in the state law as
Okay,
to the reasons why people can go into closed session. And we didn't want there to be any conflict
Mhm.
between what was in the charter and what might be in state law as it is amended from time to time into the future.
okay, thank you, that makes sense. And then we have here meetings, all meetings of the council shall be open to the public except such meetings as may be closed in accordance with the provisions of Maryland law. The rules of the council shall provide that residents of the city shall have a reasonable opportunity to be heard at any regular or special meeting in regard to any municipal question. No ordinance, rule, or regulation shall be finally adopted at a closed session. And then it says the general provisions, article of the annotated code, Title 3. And then we struck this piece out as well for the reasons that you stated already, Ms. Ruff. And then section 305, it previously, I actually don't know what was the original, but we have this section now being the chairperson. And the chairperson is the mayor. And it now will read, the mayor shall serve as chairperson of the council and shall preside over all meetings of the council, which is different than what we have today, where it is separated and the president of the council presides over the meetings. And instead of a vice president, it would be a mayor pro tem at its organizational meeting on the second Monday of June in each year. The council, and we took out following its election because we actually do this each year. Select it. We don't just do it at the election point, and it doesn't last for all 4 years. The council shall elect from its members a mayor pro tem who shall execute the duties of the mayor in the absence or disability of the mayor. The mayor pro tem shall not receive any compensation other than the compensation received as a council member. I'm just waiting in a second because Councilman Harrison is trying to log on. Councilwoman Jones, are you back? Is that your number? Councilwoman Jones, is that you? Okay. I didn't have Councilwoman Jones.
I'm sorry, Councilwoman Fareed, I am on here.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Did you hear that, Councilwoman Jones, around the mayor as the chairperson and the mayor pro tem?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yes, I did. Mhm.
Okay. Oh, one other thing you'll notice here is because the mayor is whoever's running for that office will be elected as that office. We will not change that person every year like we do currently with the council president. So that's why we struck out this part around following the election. Does that make sense? Since the mayor is elected to the role of mayor, we would not, we wouldn't like choose a different mayor every year. It would be the mayor pro tem that is changed each year. Yes, Mayor Cross.
Thank you, Chairperson, Fareed. The issue again, now you have 4 council members on, that's a quorum. And Councilwoman Jones, while not listing her name and using her phone number, again, if you have 4 people, that's a real meeting for the public, not just a committee. You advertised as a committee meeting. A committee meeting can only have the committee. With 4 council members, you now have a meeting that should be held before the people.
Okay,
Ms. Fareed, Ms.
yeah.
Fareed, would it be possible for us to take a 2-minute break and me speak with you, please?
Okay, but because this is being recorded, I just wanted to address the fact that we've actually addressed this issue. The agenda, which was advertised for this meeting, included all of the council members, which is different than the typical meetings where it's just the 3 committee members. So I just don't want to keep revisiting this issue, but let us.
If you could just indulge me, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. Let me stop sharing and stop recording. And we will resume the review. Okay, so the question that I was asking was, does anybody have any questions around this, the mayor being the chairperson and the election of the mayor pro tem every year? Yes, Councilwoman Ferguson. You're on mute.
So, just for clarity, so is it, when the election time comes, is gonna be, election for 6 council members instead of 7?
Mm-hmm.
And then the mayor is gonna be, is there gonna be a mayor, office of the mayor to be, on the ballot? Or is it the mayor being, selected out within the council?
No, so it's the mayor running for office, and that we did discuss with the full council at another work session on, we got a consensus that it would be the election of the mayor as a separate office from the 6 council members.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm. And then the mayor pro tem would be amongst the 6 council members, and that person would be elected each year, similar to how the vice president is done now. Okay, and this was to maintain, you know, that what citizens are accustomed to of having to be able to vote for the mayor.
Yes, okay, thank you.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. Majority of the members of the council shall constitute a quorum for the transaction of business, but no ordinance shall be approved nor any other action taken without the favorable votes of at least 4 members of the council unless otherwise required by law or this charter. And this was just to highlight the fact that sometimes more than 4 members are required, and there might be something, you know, that comes about in the law that requires more than 4. Okay. Okay, this is just some question that we had, and I think we resolved this question already, so we probably should have taken that out. This is not a change. Okay, yeah, we did talk about this, the types of actions that would require a resolution, but that's not going to be a change to the charter here. Okay, this is not a change to the charter, this is just a question. And we did say that we would define what types of actions. So again, for the comment there, we will specify, not in here, but rather in the council rules, what types of actions would should be resolutions versus which should be ordinances, and which should, which we can handle potentially, by voice vote versus, creating a resolution. Okay. This was stricken from, it says all ordinance passed by the council shall be promptly delivered by the clerk to the mayor for his or her approval or disapproval. This whole section was stricken, and Ms. Ruff, if you could explain to us why that is, stricken, that would be helpful. I think your comment here said something about ordinances.
I'm sorry, I am trying to turn up the volume on mine.
Oh, you can't
You
hear
had
me? I'm sorry.
indicated why we took out subsection D here.
Yes.
That is, I'm sorry, now I can't get. So it indicated that ordinances passed by the council are to be delivered to the clerk, by the clerk to the mayor for his or her approval or disapproval. When you were considering changing the form of government,
Mhm.
then that would no longer be the process. There
Mhm.
would no longer be the ability to approve or disapprove the ordinance.
Right, because the mayor would have been one of the 7 to have voted on or
Correct.
against the ordinance.
Correct.
Okay. Every ordinance, unless it passes emergency ordinance, shall become effective the expiration of 20 calendar days following approval. And again, this was stricken because the mayor would have voted on the ordinance already. An emergency ordinance shall become effective on the date specified in ordinance. And again, that part is stricken because the mayor now has a vote on, ordinances and resolutions and anything else that the council votes on, which is different than now, where the mayor does not have that ability. The mayor has the ability to veto, but that can be overturned by, a majority of the council. Selection and term. The mayor shall be elected as hereinafter provided and shall hold office for a term of 4 years or until a successor is elected and qualified. We took out this part except the beginning with the election in May 2013 because it's 2023 already. It just needs to be 4 years instead of saying 2 years. The newly elected mayor shall take office 1 hour after the start of the regular council meeting on the second Monday in June following the mayor's election instead of saying his or her. The mayor holding office shall continue to hold office for the term of which he or she was elected or until a successor takes office under the provisions. And again, the same thing as it is with the council members. This person must be 21 years of age at the time of filing their candidacy, not at the time of the election. Okay, the powers and duties generally, the mayor shall be a member of the council, which is different than today, and shall have all the rights and duties and obligations of a council member. The mayor shall serve as the council's presiding officer and may participate in all discussions and shall have a vote on all matters before the council. The mayor shall have no power to veto. And this, again, is very different than what happens now. The mayor is not a voting member now. The mayor is not necessarily allowed to participate in all discussions that the council is having. And so this is now bringing the mayor into those conversations. And in fact, the mayor is the presiding officer. The mayor shall be recognized as the head of city government for all ceremonial purposes by the court for serving civil process and by the governor for the purpose of emergency law. And so that is, what you would expect that a mayor is doing. The mayor shall report to the citizens the condition of municipal affairs. And this is different. Right now, the mayor makes the report to the council. This is changing it so the mayor is making a report to the citizens. Again, the mayor would not have the power to veto because the mayor is actually voting on resolutions and ordinances. And this is unnecessary that the mayor shall attend all council meetings because the mayor is presiding over the council meeting. This was only for today's context in which the mayor is separate from the council and is expected to make reports to the council and citizens. The mayor may not incur any expense nor enter any contract on behalf of the city without prior approval of the council. The mayor pro tem, when the mayor is absent for vacation, illness, etc., for a period of less than 30 days, the mayor pro tem shall serve as acting mayor until the return of the mayor. Okay. When both the mayor and the mayor pro tem are absent from the city and the period of such absence is less than 30 days, the duties of acting mayor shall be exercised by, who do we say it was? This is missing something. When both the mayor and the mayor pro tem are absent. Oh, I think we were going to add the language here around the council would choose amongst itself who would be.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so we have to add that language in. In those instances where the duties of mayor are exercised by either the mayor pro tem or the other of the council pursuant to this section, such duties shall include the co-signing of city checks and drafts, etc. And we took this part out because the council president and the mayor are effectively one and the same. Okay, now city manager, creation of the office, appointment, removal. Oh, before I go there, Councilman Harrison or Councilwoman Jones, did you have any questions on that section? Did you need maybe?
No, I'm understood, Councilwoman Jones.
Okay. Okay. The city manager, creation of office, appointment, and removal. There shall be a city manager appointed by the council. And again, the council consists of the mayor and 6 other council members. The city manager shall serve at the pleasure of the council, and the city manager's compensation shall be determined by the council. The city manager shall be appointed on the basis of executive and administrative qualifications. We took out solely. I mean, it makes sense to me, but could you explain, Ms. Ruff, the rationale for why we take out the word solely? Because I think that there could be other considerations for choosing a city manager.
The discussion, I believe, centered around that there could be other criteria that would form your basis for hiring the person other than simply the executive administrative qualifications. And I don't recall an example of what was discussed, but I think that the thought was that solely was simply limiting a little bit, that there could be additional criteria that you would want to use.
Right. Okay. The city manager need not be a resident of the city or state at the time of appointment, but may reside outside the city limits while in office only with the approval of the council. A city manager shall not participate in election campaigns. Okay, that's nothing has changed there. The city manager shall be the chief administrative officer. The only thing we changed here was the capitalization of the C, the A, and the O. Because the charter currently says that the city manager is the chief administrative officer of the city and shall be responsible to the council for the administration of all city affairs placed in his or her charge by the council or under this charter. And this change does not eliminate the mayor's responsibility for the city manager. Again, the mayor will be the presiding officer of the council, so the mayor will have responsibilities over the city manager as well. Okay, and so where we have stricken out here is because the mayor is included in the council, so there's no need to say the mayor and the council. Okay, the city manager will still help the mayor in preparing a message, the annual budget message, so the mayor will still deliver that message to the public. So again, it is no need to say mayor or council because the mayor is the presiding officer of the council. And that's set forth in section 818, and we'll just need to just go back after we're done to make sure that these references are correct. Okay. The city manager shall be subject to an annual performance evaluation to be performed by the council. The performance and evaluation criteria shall be prepared by the council and may be periodically revisited by the council. The council may remove the city manager from office with an affirmative vote of the majority of the council upon 30 days written notice to the city manager. And again, the mayor is one of those voting members, so that the person who's in that office will have their vote captured in the council vote. And again, the mayor doesn't need to submit anything to the council for it because the mayor is the presiding officer of the council. And so all of these sections around what the mayor would need to do or how the city and how the council and the mayor are coordinating with each other is no longer applicable. And I think this section, though, are I actually don't remember why this was stricken out. Ms. Ruff, do you recall? Let's see.
I'm
Oh,
so,
because we said we were going to revise the language and put that in an ordinance.
yes, so we were gonna move it from the charter and put it
Uh-huh.
in the code. That was the
Okay.
idea with that.
Okay. And what is the benefit of us doing that?
So if you look, can you scroll up just a tad? So if you look at this, it's talking about the mayor shall submit a resolution to consider removal. And then it says alternatively, the council shall adopt an affirmative vote, majority of all the members of resolution. When you're getting into the process and procedure, oftentimes that is included in your code as opposed to the charter. Because then if you decide to change the manner in which you want to address that particular issue, it's more of a personnel matter that you could change it a little easier than having to go back into your charter to do that. At least that was the idea.
Thank you. Okay, the city manager may designate and the council may confirm a department head as acting city manager to exercise the power and perform the duties of the manager during any temporary absence or disability of the manager. The council may revoke such designation at any time and appoint another department head of the city as acting city manager. So I think what we need to figure out here, though, is this each time the city manager designates it, or can the city manager like just make a designation and it lasts until it changes? So if the city manager wants to say that the department head that will be the acting city manager in his or her absence is the chief of police or the treasurer, can it just be the chief of police or treasurer until?
The way it's proposed here that the city manager may designate, and the council may confirm. Right now, it's being proposed that they could not designate the person without confirmation of the council.
Right, but well, I guess my question is, does
Could
it
it be
need
the other way? Yes.
No. Could it be, do they, like every time the city manager is out, do they need to designate a person, or can they just designate them and say it's going to be the treasurer and we just assume it's the treasurer every single time that they're out? Because I guess what I would be concerned with, since the council has to confirm it, how will we get together to confirm it each time the
Right.
city manager may potentially be out?
Right. So it
Rather than
depends. There are, I mean, some jurisdictions leave it up to that city manager to make that determination without having to go get the approval of the council. But the way we did it here, we were trying to leave it as close to what it currently reads as possible. And that's why we left in that the council would confirm. So could you say January 1st in the event that the city manager is out? Is that what you're suggesting?
Yeah, I just want to know, like, can we just, once we confirm it, can we assume that that person is going to be the acting city manager whenever the city manager is out until we change it?
Yeah, we could write it that way, yes.
Councilwoman
Because then
Ferguson?
you don't have to worry about it being an emergent situation, I guess is what you're thinking. And that there
Yeah.
would not be a council meeting.
Right. Councilwoman Ferguson?
Yeah, okay, I see where she said that, you know, we was leaving it kind of close as possible the way it was. My thing is, if we have a city manager and we are, why do we even have to be involved in that? Why can't we, whoever the city manager is, have faith that they could appoint, the person for that? I would think that, say for instance, if it was the treasurer, it would be the treasurer, unless the treasurer wasn't there, then it would be the chief of police or vice versa. But, us having to, I don't understand why we even have to have anything to do with it.
Yeah, because right now in reality, we don't do this.
And my thing is, even though it was there, that doesn't mean that it had to stay there. That was the way it was then. But I mean, I don't think that as legislators we need to be in everything. That's just my opinion. And then if the city manager is taking the role in such, the way the change of government would be, I mean, we can, um, trust that whoever the city manager is can do as much as they're gonna do with the city, then they should have enough to be able to appoint who's gonna act on their behalf when they're not there. And again, if the person, if we put somebody, if we say the treasurer or we say the chief of police, we still have to confirm it if the chief of police is out or we still, they still have to name somebody else. So I personally think that it should just be up to the city manager. Um, that's how I feel. Okay.
Okay.
Hello, yeah. Let me just say, this was actually put in here because when we didn't have a city manager at all, when the city manager was either quit or terminated, and we had nobody in this place, we put this in there for the council to put an interim city manager in there for the time being until we found somebody a replacement. This isn't talking about if somebody's just off for a day off or a week off on vacation. That's when you allow the city manager to just say, like she do now, okay, the treasurer's in charge, until I get back. This is when we lose the city manager altogether. We need somebody in interim.
Okay, so then we need to change that, because if we've lost the city manager would be able to designate the person. So if it's intended to be what you're saying, which makes sense, like what do we do for appointing an interim city manager? That's something different.
But if you also look, it talks about during any temporary absence or disability of the manager.
Right, but to Councilman Herring's point and what we've been saying, we don't actually do this. The city manager will just send an email and tell us that the treasurer is going to be, and we don't confirm it. We don't need to confirm anything. So we should clean this up because we don't actually do that. I agree with Councilwoman Ferguson that it would be too much for us to have to confirm this for every single time they need to be out.
We do need
I
to
mean,
confirm
it
an
could be
interim.
something like, in the absence of the office, if the office is not occupied or a lengthy absence, maybe. But I think it needs to be specific to the point where if basically some kind of way, if the office was empty because of someone quit or whatever, versus the way I might be saying it wrong, is to me it was like every time we have to confirm if someone is out, say for a vacation or whatever.
Right. So we just need to adjust this section to talk about, to focus on when there's a vacancy in the office. I'm sorry.
So can we just say when there's a vacancy in the office of city manager?
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I put a note here so we could just get the wording right. We can write it up nicely. Okay. think we covered everything here. Councilwoman Jones, Councilman Harrison, did you have anything here before we go to the next section?
It's a question before you do that. Now, if this is a committee meeting and we're involving 2 other council members, that makes 5 of us discussing this charter. Doesn't that constitute a work session? I just want to be clear before we go any further. I just want to be clear, and I'm asking the attorney, since we advertise it as a committee meeting, and normally when a committee is meeting, we just speak amongst ourselves. But when we're involving 2 other council members, doesn't that turn into technically a work session because we're discussing city business, which it wasn't advertised as a work session, it was advertised as a committee meeting. I just want to know, I mean, I don't have no problem with them chiming in, but I just want to make sure that we're not turning this into something that we shouldn't be.
So one of the things that you did to advertise this meeting, as I understand it, is the agenda advertises the meeting and shows who was invited to the meeting, as it's been explained to me. And every council person was identified on that agenda.
And the mayor and the city manager.
Right. So that everybody would have been on notice that all of those people could possibly be at this meeting, right? You can't say everybody for sure because you don't know what people's schedules are, but and then it was advertised on the website. It was advertised in other locations, as I understand it.
Not on the marquee. I went out there, it's not on the marquee. So that's a no. And it's not on the door up at the town hall. I went up there to check to make sure. But it's not on the marquee either. So I don't know why they said it was on the marquee when it's not.
Yeah, that's what Ms. Bailey Wolf texted me at 7:07. The marquee also advertised as a virtual meeting.
Yeah, I just sat there and watched it scroll through the whole sequence and it wasn't on there. So I just want to be clear. So that means anybody that's invited can participate. I just want to be clear on that.
Well, so far we've reviewed the whole thing. I know we're asking for input or questions, but given that there seems to be concern by people here, maybe what we should do is continue this to another date, possibly, that would give people an opportunity to review this and then have a more full conversation about it.
Well, the problem is I wanted to review this so that people can understand the context of why we made the changes. So it's not expected that everyone would confirm what's here, but if people review this and just review these strikeouts, they wouldn't have no idea why certain things were stricken out. So the point was to go through this, talk through what the changes were, and because we have you on the line, if there are any questions to elaborate more, we can do that. But it's really not to work this through in the sense of like how we typically do our committee meeting, where we go through and we go read each line and we say this is what we should change or not change. We're just helping for the review, because ultimately these changes are going to be presented in a charter resolution, and we're not anticipating doing that until the June timeframe. If we put this all as an attachment in a charter resolution and nobody knew why we were doing what we were doing, if there's no context or understanding of it, then it would be a very difficult meeting to have, which is why we agreed as a committee that we would meet with the rest of the council to review what we have done thus far and make sure that, there was clarity and understanding around what is being proposed. And to afford the rest of the council an opportunity to ask any questions or to even make challenges and say, no, I don't think we should do this, right? So that's why, as an example, we got a consensus around how we wanted to proceed with the mayor being a part of the council. Did we want the mayor to be elected amongst the council? Do we want the mayor to be elected separately? We had those conversations because that was going to impact how we proceeded with the rest of the charter. We didn't want to be in a position where the 3 council members review this entire charter and put forward a charter resolution in June, only to have the council say they don't understand what any of this is, or they don't agree with the stuff, and then we not be able to proceed. So that was the reason why we discussed as a committee, we would meet with the rest of the council to bring them up to speed on where we were. The rest of the council could also have reviewed any of the recordings that we've done thus far. This was more just as a courtesy for recognizing everyone's super busy, and the likelihood of council members who are not actually on this committee taking this red line document and reviewing it separately was low.
Well, and might I suggest that you could always leave this open to your next meeting. Do you know when that will be at this point?
It is the third, I think it's the third Thursday of every month, but we're on recess in December, so it would be in January.
So you could continue this meeting until that date, provide notice about the meeting as well, and then start the meeting with anybody have any questions about it. That would address Mr. Herring's issues earlier, that the council may not have had an opportunity to really review it much. Gives them time to look at it, and will give you time to then address their questions perhaps at the beginning of the next meeting.
So I think that we don't have that much left to go through. I think it would just be helpful for us to go through this again, to provide that context so that the council members can do exactly what you just said. Now they can go apart from this, review, see if they have any questions, and then, you know, raise those questions. Councilwoman Ferguson, I'm sorry, I missed you.
Oh, I mean, I was just gonna ask, but you continue on, but I was gonna ask, in the future, would, Ms. Ruff, would you, recommend us as far as advertising, even though we do have the agenda, and that's another thing, we normally don't have an agenda, but, to include everyone, but, when we have a meeting such as this, should we, label it charter committee work session?
Of the council, or just a charter committee work session? So a charter committee meeting does not necessarily have to be distinguished between a work session or any other type of meeting. Am I not understanding?
Yeah,
Well,
I
because
agree
it
with you,
was,
and I
it
think
was
that's
brought up
where,
a couple of times saying that it was advertised as a committee meeting versus a work session or a public hearing or a public meeting.
Oh, no, no.
Committee is the word that was mentioned.
Yes, but my distinction was not between whether it was a work session or a public hearing. I was curious as to how it was advertised, but then, like I said, it was brought to my attention that the agenda is part of the way that you advertise the committee meeting, and it had all the council members there. So anybody who would have seen that notice would have known.
Yes, I understood what you said, but I would say that the reason why, once you brought that up, then it came again, and the same issue was brought up again by the mayor, saying again that we was in violation because it was a committee meeting. And so what I'm saying then, just so that we can be correct, do we have to say charter committee work session, with work session being that we're working? Or you're saying that the fact that the agenda included the whole council and it was publicly advertised, that's sufficient?
That's what I'm saying, is that gave people notice that the whole council may have been here, that it might have been everyone in attendance. At least that, like I said, that's how I understand that it was advertised.
right. And to, just on that point around it being a work session, I don't think it's ever our intention to have the whole council, or even more than the 3 committee members, like read these line by line and just decide what changes we're going to make. That's what the 3 of us, do in our committee meetings, where we go through this detail. The point of this meeting and bringing it to the broader council was so that they can understand what progress has been made thus far. And I just wanted to also say, we're done. Like, this is where the red line, this is where the edits end.
No.
So there's nothing more to review at this point.
And
Can I say?
I'm sorry, go ahead. I
Oh,
apologize.
I was just going to say, okay, I guess me, then, looking at the importance of this document here, I expect every council member to read this line by line to understand fully what they're voting on and what we're changing it to. I don't want a council member that's going to sit there and just listen to an overview or a synopsis of what we've done over the last 6 months. It took us almost 6 months to get to this point.
I know, I'm
and
sorry.
meeting
I
after
think
meeting.
maybe I wasn't clear on what I'm saying. I'm not suggesting that a council member should not read this line by line. What I'm saying is that my expectation is not, like, when we meet in these council meetings, we say general powers in addition, and we say, oh, do we want to say addition or cross that out? Like, I'm not expecting the rest of the council to do that with us, because that's what the committee is doing. The point of the committee is to do that legwork and then bring it to the council so that they can review, not for the council members to be in the detail in the same way that we are. So I would expect that as well, that the council would do that. And that's exactly why we discussed having this, because we want the council members to be informed when they're voting about what was the context and why we're making or proposing to make some of these changes so that they can be informed.
So might I suggest that if we were to continue this till that January meeting, that would then give, and maybe you take the first half hour of the meeting just to go over whatever anybody's the council members' questions and concerns might be. That may help wrap this session up, or the intent of this session, shall I say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's fine.
Can I also suggest that at the January meeting that we just advertise it as a charter review work session or something of that sort?
That's fine.
Just so we don't have this again.
Yeah, I agree, because it seems like we had a meeting about this meeting, and I don't, yeah. I just want to be correct. I don't want anybody coming saying that we're doing something that's illegal or we're not right. And so I just want to be right, politically right, correct, period. So I hope I'm not appearing to be difficult, but I just want us to be right so that the citizens will know, and if we are not, then we get on board to doing what's right and what's best, so that we won't have this type of thing. Because I feel like, again, we've had a meeting about this meeting.
I would agree with you, Councilwoman Ferguson, and I think my biggest concern was the fact that this is something that we discussed around having, and having it as part of the charter review meeting specifically, instead of having a separate work session with the council, or trying to do it at the council meeting. So for me, it is a little, it just kind of feels like, why are we discussing this now, when this is what we agreed upon in the last committee meeting around the approach that we would take, that we would invite the rest of the council to this meeting, and that we would review these items. So I would just, if there are concerns, I just hope that going forward we can address them before, like, the day of, so that we can have adequate notice, and to the points around making sure that everything is crystal clear to people, in terms of advertising, in terms of making sure that people know who is attending, etc. Yeah, I think that would be the better way to go next time. But in terms of this document, we have gone through, what we intended to review. And this document has also been shared with the rest of the council, so they are free to, review at their leisure and ask questions, either by coming to the Charter Review Committee meeting, or asking them separately. But let me ask this question, because I don't want to make it sound like they can do either, because it sounds like if we would need to know, I think the best thing for us to do is just go ahead and make that January meeting, just already assume that more than 3 council members are gonna be there. Because I don't want to be in a situation where we're waiting and saying, oh, okay, we're not sure if anyone is going to come to the meeting, if they're going to have questions or not, because we're saying, right, that they can come and they can ask questions if they have them. What if they don't have them? What if this is clear enough? They may not come. But I think the safest thing for us to do is just to go ahead and advertise it as a full council committee meeting. And we'll take the first part of that to discuss, and then we can go and begin to review the rest of this document.
And it would be as a continuation of this meeting tonight.
That first 30 minutes,
Yeah.
Well, the first part of the meeting, should the council members have questions. They may not come, they may not have questions. This may have been clear enough to them. But we do, as the committee, need to continue on with the review of the charter because we have not touched yet these sections.
Okay.
Can I say, I guess that's why I thought this meeting was so important that council members be here, because they can give us an input on whether we're going in the right direction. Because if they decide there's something, a majority decide they don't want to do it the way we're moving forward with, then it ain't going to get done, and we'll move forward without a clear idea on where they want to go. So I think that's why we got to get the council's buy-in on this, because again, this is the main part of it will decide how we move in the rest of the charter. So again, we're going to have to get a consensus or something from the members that, as a whole, on are we moving in the right direction. And that's why I thought that was my intent on this meeting, is have them here, have them ask questions and do what they need to do, and get clarity on it, when we had this meeting. And so I think that's really important in January, that we do get a clear idea from the council members if they are in agreement with the way we're moving or not. Because again,
Right.
We can't move any further without them letting us know what we're doing, if what we're doing is good.
Right. And what we had discussed previously was that this would be reviewed, and we would, any consensus items that we needed, any additional consensus items that we needed to get from the council on, we would. Because remember, we did get consensus on how to proceed with this, the mayor and the council, which is what we needed before we could say, move further. To your exact point, we didn't want to move forward in one way that the council would then come back and say, they disagreed with. So I do think the most germane piece in the sections that we covered around the organization of the council and how the mayor and the council will interact have been addressed with the council. But there's no limit on the council's ability to ask questions. I think what is being said is that at the start of the next committee meeting, and we'll rename that to a committee work session of the council, or however it's going to be worded to make it explicitly clear that it is the council that will be there. We will allow the opportunity, for the council to ask questions. We could also do that during an actual work session too.
I think it's going to be too much on a work session.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks.
Yeah. So we can hold that 30 minutes at the start of the next committee meeting for the council to ask their questions. And we'll go ahead from now and advertise that meeting as whatever the appropriate language is to make it clear that it's the full council who will be in attendance or who is invited to attend. Is that?
I have a question. Councilwoman Fareed,
Yes.
I have a question.
Yes, Ms. Jones.
So, okay, so we're going to continue this, and in the continuation, in the first 30 minutes or 15 minutes, the additional council will get an opportunity to ask questions concerning the changes that have already been made.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to say I appreciate this opportunity to sit and listen and go over the changes and get the clarity from the attorney as to what has been done. But once that's done, when you all go back into session again, you're not going to want the council to sit and just listen to the changes that you're making, or that would interfere with the Open Meetings Act by having 4 persons on, but not necessarily a participant in the conversation in the work session, but just listening to what you all are doing. That's not going to be permitted. And then for this meeting, was there a link provided to get on the Zoom so that I wouldn't have to use the phone?
Oh, yes, there was a Zoom link on the website, on the calendar, and I believe. I thought the calendar.
I just saw the phone number on the city website. I didn't see, and I saw a phone number from the council clerk and a phone number. So okay, maybe, all right, I'll go back and look again. Maybe I missed it, but I just didn't see it, coming in. That's why but I just used the phone number because that's all the access that I had. So,
Right, yeah, no, I clicked on it. That's how I got into the meeting. So to answer your question, I'm just going to circle back to Ms. Ruff, because that we have never excluded the rest of the council from attending. There have been charter review committee meetings in which other council members have attended. They have not spoken or offered any commentary on the changes that we were making. They were just listening in, and I didn't understand that to be an issue because the meeting was already advertised as a public meeting.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. But just listening to the back and forth earlier about, 4 council persons just being on, that's why I'm asking about that.
And I take responsibility for some of that confusion, and I apologize for that.
That's okay.
Yeah, because that's the way we always intended it, and even how we wrote it in the resolution, that the meeting would be open to everyone, right? It wasn't just the 3 of us meeting in a room to do this in isolation. We wanted people to have an opportunity to listen so that they could understand the context. So Councilwoman Jones, what you just described is exactly what the purpose of this meeting was, giving you the context of why some of these changes were made, being able to ask any questions of the attorney so that as you do your review, you now have a more informed perspective to ask your questions from.
Right.
Okay.
All right, that gives me clarity. Thank you so much.
No problem. And so we haven't even started on the general powers of the council. So we'll take the 30 minutes at the start of the next meeting to see if there are any questions on these edits that we are proposing. And then the 3 committee members will begin to work through the rest of this detail. And council members are free to listen into that or to drop and listen to a recording at a later time if you want. And then we will have another one of these sessions after we've gone through the rest of the charter, so that there would have been 2 opportunities for you to review the red line changes. So the first half and then the second half, because again, none of this, like us reviewing this doesn't mean that these are what the changes are going to be. We still have to put forward a charter resolution. There's still going to be a charter resolution. It's going to include these red line items. There's still going to be a public hearing for people to comment on them, and obviously for the council to comment on them. We're just trying to provide as many opportunities as possible for receiving feedback. Okay. Councilwoman Ferguson, do you have any questions?
No, I do not. Thank you.
Councilman Herring, do you have any other questions?
Good, thank you.
Okay. Councilman Harrison, did you have any questions?
Oh, no, I'm good. Thank you.
Council President, I saw you joined. That's you, right? Council President?
Yes, that's me. I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Okay. What was on? Mayor Cross?
Yeah, I have questions. So you removed the ability of the veto out of the charter, and you've allowed that the council incorporates the mayor. And so you will have all resolutions and ordinances voted only by the members of the council, and the people do not have a representative. If they decide that they don't like that, it has to be a petition to referendum, nearly 900 signatures per item of concern that the citizens have to do, but the council can just decide to change the charter or the form of government or code or whatever. And there is no requirement on the council to petition to referendum as equally as the citizens. So it just seems like we're making it extremely difficult for the citizens to have the government that they elected. But yeah, I don't know that I agree with any of that. I don't, in fact, because I believe that we are a people's government, which means the people's voice right now has just been noosed. Or, we can't keep silencing them and forcing them to have to do that petition to referendum, which we know is nearly 900 votes, whereas a legislative body of 7 can write a resolution or an ordinance, which then impacts the people without the same requirement. But thank you.
And I just on that, Mayor Cross, that is not any different than what it is right now. That is exactly whether the mayor was a part of the council or not. Any charter resolution would require to be overturned, petition to referendum. So this is not something new that we're introducing.
You combined it with the ordinances. That's incorrect. Ordinances are laws, resolutions are recommendations, but ordinances are the law, and that needs to have a veto authority on it. And the people shouldn't have to be required every resolution and ordinance to get the petition to referendum together. That's why the ordinance has a veto authority, particularly because it does impact the citizens differently than a resolution. An ordinance changes the very nature, the being of the peoples of the city. A resolution is just things that happen for that term, but an ordinance is the lifetime of the city. We just need to be careful with how we are negating the voice of the voter. Thank you.
I just think that's a misrepresentation. Like a veto as it exists now can be overridden. So I'm not saying that the mayor is the sole owner of the voice of the citizens. That's what's being implied here, and I do not think that is correct. Because the mayor vetoes something, that does not necessarily mean that it's not something that the citizens want. Each of us as council members represent the citizens as well. So if something, it doesn't stand that if the mayor vetoes something, it's not moved forward with. Again, it can be overturned. So what you're describing is not a different scenario in terms of what would need to be done for moving something forward. And I don't know, Councilman Herring, you were going to say something.
Let me also say that, Mayor, you're confusing things because the only thing that can be petitioned to referendum is a charter resolution. And that's state mandated. We have absolutely nothing to do with that. If you want to change that, you're going to talk to Joanne Benson and our 24th legislative delegates, because that's the only thing. Citizens cannot petition any ordinance or resolution that we currently pass to referendum. It's not allowed in the charter at all. So that's what the difference is. We've never allowed a citizen to petition anything that we pass, whether it's a resolution or ordinance, to referendum. Only thing that they are allowed to do is what the state allows them to do, which is the charter resolution. So that's where we are with that.
Can I also say something?
Sure.
Hello? Yeah. So I want to be clear about this because the verbiage that the mayor's used has put us in a difficult position before where it was not true. No one is trying to take away the voice of the people at all. This is a charter review committee. They're working on things. It's going to come to the entire council. Then it's going to come to a work session. Citizens are going to have an opportunity to comment on this to see if this is what they want or not. We will listen to that, and then we'll make an informed decision. But the committee nor the council is trying to take away the power of the people. And that term was used the last time to create a mob that was under the false impression that that the council trying to do something that we were not. It was an intentional lie. And so I just want that to get rid of that notion that somehow someone is trying to get rid of the will of the people. That is not what's happening here.
And I might add also that the significant difference in this form of government and moving forward is that the mayor actually is having a voice in the resolution. Right now, the mayor is not allowed to vote on any resolution that is put forward. The mayor is not putting forward resolutions. And as a presiding officer of the council, the mayor would be able to do that. The mayor would be involved in all of the decisions that the council would be making, which is not currently the case. So in my view, this is an expansion of the role of the mayor as different from what it is currently. And it is giving the mayor more opportunity to participate in eliminating that this trope that the council is against the mayor and that we're not working together. In this case, the mayor would be very much a part of all of the decision-making processes. In fact, would be the presiding officer. So I just want to make sure that that's on record, because that's not what happened today. Again, the mayor's veto is essentially pointless, because if a resolution or an ordinance is passed unanimously by the council, the mayor's veto means nothing, because that means that the council will override it. So, I mean, I don't see how it's not clear that this different position gives the mayor's office more involvement in the legislative process and the ordinance making process of the city than currently. Councilwoman Ferguson, did you have something to say?
I just wanted to add that when this originally came up, there was two options on how we would determine the mayor. Either the mayor would be picked out from among the council, or we would have the election as we have it now, that the people will vote for the mayor. And while we didn't have a lot of people speaking, the majority of them that did speak, they voiced that they would prefer to remain with the process of voting for their mayor. Which again, in other municipalities, the mayor is picked with that form of government that we're visiting. They would just pick the mayor among the council once the council was elected. So we are, should we go this way, with this form of government, the choice of the mayor was determined as a result of the citizens wanting to keep it remaining, like they're going to vote for they're going to have people run for the mayor office, and they will be able to elect that. So there's still a lot of difference and compromising as well. So nobody, and again, for the record, if we should go, if this is determined that it's voted in, this will not even happen until the next administration, which none of us are promised to even be in there. So this is not a personal thing. This is just us revisiting the charter that has not been updated in years or decades, for that matter. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you. If all hearts and minds are clear, at least for now, we can just go ahead and adjourn.
Councilwoman Fareed.
Yes, Councilwoman Jones.
Councilwoman Jones again. I just wanted to extend an apology or pardon. I see now that the format has been changed for joining online. Either it was done by a new format sent to me in an email, or when I got my computer updated by T-Spec the other day. Things kind of changed around and I kind of got, having to, look at new stuff. So please forgive me. I see
That's
the
okay.
online access.
That's okay. So thank you
Thank
everyone
you.
for taking out the time to join this meeting. You all have the the version that we reviewed. You have another opportunity. You have another 2 months or so to review what we've done thus far, prepare your questions, and we will discuss them at the next Charter Review Committee work council work session, whatever we need to call it in order to make sure it's made clear what type of meeting it is. But again, at that meeting, at the start of the meeting, we will take questions from the council on what has been proposed thus far, and then we will proceed with reviewing the remainder of the charter. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Ms. Ruff, for joining, and thank you for your consultation.
Can I ask one last question?
Sure.
The document that you reviewed tonight is on the website or no?
Yeah,
Okay. Thank you.
You're
I didn't
welcome.
see it on the website.
it's there.
Is there? 'Cause I
I
checked,
think
look
that-
at the-
I think the issue is that there's listed 2 meetings, right? So when you go in there, let me see. I'll just show
Okay.
you. You see one says City of Glen Arden Charter Review Committee meeting, and another says
Right.
Charter Review meeting.
Oh, okay.
I think that's probably what the issue is.
Yeah. Charter review meeting has it on there. The other
Yeah.
one doesn't. Yeah, okay, all right. They need to take that other one off because it's confusing.
Mm-hmm.
Because on the other one, it says, information pending or something like that.
Right. So, I mean, we have to handle that with our website master and our council clerk. But thank you, everyone, for joining. Have a nice holiday with your families for Thanksgiving. And looking forward to seeing some of you on, well, if I'm feeling better, on Saturday at the luncheon.
Good
All
night.
right. Thank you.
Good night. Happy
Good night.
Thanksgiving.
Okay, good night.
Night.
Thank you.
Right.
All right, good
Good
night.
night. Good night, Ms. Rowe.